Welcome to another episode of That One Movie Podcast, also known as TOMP, the weekly show where we discuss movies, games, and TV shows, in addition to kinda whatever. Mainly we just shout nonsense into our microphones. I'm your host, Holden Sutter, joined by my co-host, Jimmy Youthy.
Holden, maybe we're video today, maybe we're not. I don't know. We're trying out some Skype recording here. Is it going to work? Is it not going to work? I don't know. I didn't tell Holden we were going to try this, so my side looks really good and professional, and Holden looks like a pile of poo. But you know what, Holden, you're just more handsome in general, so I gotta get any advantage I can take. Your side of the screen still looks better than mine. But of course, either way, we're coming at you in those sweet MP3 format stereo audio through our $60 Amazon microphones.
If we do continue doing video, this is probably unfortunately going to be my setup for at least a couple months. I'm moving, I know, sometime this summer, and I don't really want to put the time into setting up something here when I know I'm just going to take it down in a couple months. So, hopefully this blinding light in the top left of the screen is not too distracting.
Yeah, well, there we go. Holden, what is the episode this week?
Well, Jimmy, glad you asked. We've got a great episode for you this week featuring our review of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
Awesome. Sweet. The concluding chapter to the James Gunn Guardians saga. I am looking forward to it, Holden. Let's dive right in.
That One Movie Podcast.
Tom. But first, Jimmy, let's do some toms. The toms. Toms is a rapid-fire segment where we rate the news of the week in the world of entertainment on a scale of 3 famous Toms: Brokaw, Bombadil, and Bergeron. Brokaw's the highest, Bombadil's the lowest, and Bergeron is somewhere in between. Jimmy, let's get to it.
Holden, if we are doing this video thing, I'm just can't be on my phone anymore. It's going to be disappointing.
You can't just be.
What are you doing? I'm just
listening
sitting over here playing the Wordle of the day. Holden's talking. Oh, what did you? Yeah. Well, you still haven't watched Succession, huh?
I was thinking, what are you gonna do for like the little transition bits?
I was thinking that too. I don't have any sort of video bumper for the Toms. I was working on one a long time ago. I had our really old intro with our very first logo. So I even had an intro with our last one, but now we even have a new one. So who knows? Maybe it'll just be a little picture for now, you know. See if the video podcast takes off. You know what? If this is on YouTube, throw in some likes. Maybe we get 25 likes. We get some new intros in there. There you go.
There we go.
little comment, a little engagement, as they say in the business. Holden, turns out, if you just do an audio podcast, people don't really stumble upon an audio podcast. But for those of you who are listening to us, thank you very much. We appreciate it. Obviously, we are not doing this for the money because there is no money. And we've been doing this for 4 years. So
yeah, we just do it for fun. We like it.
Yeah, I do it for punishment and because Holden's parents pay me. But
yeah, that's right. That's right. A money under the table kind of thing.
Yeah. Anyway, Holden, we have trailers this week. A couple big ones. Well, one big one and one. Yeah, I forgot this was being made.
Yeah, we can do that one first. We'll do Gran Turismo, which this is the upcoming film adaptation, I guess, sort of thing of the PlayStation racing series of the same name, Gran Turismo. I've never played any of these games. I think my dad owned one of them for PS1, but I do not remember anything about it. And I've never really been into like the racers, like the racing simulation, I guess probably the best word for it. I'm always I love me some Mario Kart. Love me some of that stuff. I've played some Crash Nitro Kart in my day. I like the kind of the goofier ones. But yeah, these more realistic ones, I don't think I've ever really even tried. So I guess I can't even say they're not my thing. I don't think I've really tried them much.
God, I loved Need for Speed, Midtown Madness 2. From the early 2000s was my jam. San Francisco, I think London was in that game too.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I did any racing. I think I just caused havoc. Like it was like GTA for me before I was old enough to play GTA.
Okay.
So that was really fun. Need for Speed. I think I played some of the mobile games, when those were a thing 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But a little Asphalt, one of those things. But otherwise, sure. No, me neither. But, the Gran Turismo 7 is apparently just absolutely amazing on PSVR 2. Even with a controller, it's pretty solid. So I think I will get it when it's on sale for $20 one day or on PlayStation Plus. But because I definitely want to try that because people say it's mind blowing. Anywho, Holden, the movie trailer. Apparently it's based on a true story of some sort.
Yeah, I didn't really look into it too much, so I don't know, what parts are true or whatever, or what the actual story is. But yeah, it's bizarre because it's an adaptation, I guess, but the game exists in the world of the movie, and it's also, excuse me, based on a true story. So it's just a weird way of going by an adaptation. It feels kind of like a commercial for the game, at least in the trailer, just with how much they're showing the PlayStation logo and the logo of the game, but I don't know.
Well, so you know how they play the little 5-second before the trailers for when it's a YouTube ad? So I saw that first, and they're like, when you miss a turn in the game, whatever, but then in real life you could die. And I thought it was an Ender's Game situation where it's they're controlling and then actual people are in the seat or something. And then but then I was thinking, why would actual people be in the seat if they're not controlling it? So, so the premise is the kids, the gamers are really good at the game. Mm-hmm. And then they get invited to actually race and for a competition, and then they do well or they don't, and someone dies maybe. But okay, yeah, I guess David Harbour's in it. Orlando Bloom is in it. Where's that guy been?
It's very. I've never seen it myself. I know the film from I think it's from the 80s called The Last Starfighter. Is the whole premise of that is I might be wrong since I've never seen it, but from what I understand, the premise is these guys get very good at an arcade game, and then they are recruited into some sort of alien defense force or something like that. And it's kind of like that, except it's much more realistic. So I don't know. It's an intriguing premise for sure, and the fact that it's not just an adaptation. I don't know if there's any story in those games at all, but the fact that it's not just a straight adaptation, it's kind of interesting. And those two names attached, David Harbour and Orlando Bloom, that's cool at least.
Yeah. Orlando Bloom's probably playing someone who's psycho for wanting to do this. But I guess it's more interesting than just a normal racing movie. But I don't know. I'm at a Bergeron for this, Holden.
I kind of am too. Visually, it's kind of mixed too. I thought there were some parts where it looked really good, and there was one car flip towards the end. I was like, the physics of that just looked terrible. I'm not an expert on racing physics, but it just looked real bad.
A lot of FPV drone shots.
Yep. But yeah, I'm kind of at a Bergeron too. Who knows if we'll do it? We'll see how. I think this comes out in August. I don't know how busy that month. We'll be busy with Blue Beetle around that time.
Oh yes.
I don't know what else is happening, so we'll see. Maybe we'll get to it. Maybe we won't. No promises. Bergeron.
There we go, Holden. Under promise, over deliver. All right, our second trailer, the big one, Dune Part Dos.
Yes. And I don't think I mentioned at the beginning, I apologize. I have a cold. So if there's a lot of coughing, clearing of the throat, my voice sounds deeper. That's why. So, of course, the day that Jimmy wants to start doing a video podcast, I'm feeling just terrible right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm wearing like sweatpants and like a shirt. I was okay with, being on an audio podcast and whatever.
I'm trying to think if we even we tried to do a video podcast right away when we first started. But that was when we were together in the basement of our college's library, and there was a green screen, and my camera could only record 30 minutes at a time, and I'm pretty sure there was all these errors. So who knows what was happening there? But
this is probably a lot better, even with the inconsistency of the two of us.
Yeah, but fun to be back here in video form. Hopefully, again, if this works. If it doesn't,
then all of this that we're talking about is literally for nothing.
It's all in vain. Well, we'll work on it. We're thinking about it. I've put a lot of thought into this lately. We'll be toying it. Holden has no idea what I'm even saying because I haven't talked to him about it at all.
Yes,
he's on the edge of his seat.
I got here and I was like, "Damn, Jimmy, you got like a nice setup going today." And
yeah. He literally was like, if we were doing a video, that wouldn't be too bad. Yes, Holden. Dune Part 2. All right. I think it looks good. I mean, Paul Atreides looks like he's taking a little bit more leadership this time. Of course, we get our first glimpse at Florence Pugh Pew Pew as like the Emperor's daughter. Something
who
like
apparently is not in this book that much. From what I understand, I know Denis Villeneuve has talked about making an adaptation of the sequel book as well, which I think would just be one movie. It's much shorter. But apparently she's a bigger player in that. So we might not get a ton of Florence Pugh in this.
Then we get Paul Atreides riding a sandworm, whatever you call him. What are they called?
I can't remember. I think it's like a weird name, but just call it the Dune worm. That's what I call it. That's
the
what
big the Alaskan bullworm.
Alaskan bullworm.
I think it looks interesting. Obviously, visually stunning. Get more Zendaya this time around. References to what happened in the first movie. Won't say anything about that if you haven't seen it. But I'm excited for this, Holden. I don't know, like it's not. I should be more excited about it than I am.
I think I am really pretty excited for it, mostly because I was kind of reading online kind of what people thought of the trailer, and like the fans of the book say this is like exactly what's needed for this half, at least what the trailer is indicating. So, if it's works close to the book, but also works in movie form, kind of like the first half seemed to do. I'm very excited for it. Got a first glimpse of Austin Butler as well.
That's right.
Bald cap. I think from what I understand, I think he's kind of like the main threat, like at least maybe for our main character in this half of the book or whatever. So we'll see. Visually just looks great. The music's still cool. I'm very excited for it personally.
Yeah, no, I think it looks great. You got that one arena sort of duel thing going on there. That looks cool. Otherwise, yeah, I'm at a broca. It's not like a trailer that completely blew me away, but makes me want to go back, rewatch that first one, and then get excited for this one on November 3rd of this year, 2023.
Have you?
Which is my sister's birthday.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Have you seen Prometheus?
I have not seen Prometheus. No, I have not.
Okay, I thought like that black and white shot of the arena. I don't remember what that like army, what those people are called, but I thought they looked like the aliens from Prometheus in that arena. So that's all I could think of. But that reference is lost on you.
Yeah, but a lost reference wouldn't be. Interestingly,
no, that would be lost on me.
Yeah. All right. So brocas all around. That's it for trailers, Holden. No more of this trailer talk. Let's talk about the news this week. What do you got?
Yeah. So really the big thing this week, and we don't have a ton of news aside from this. It's the writers' strike.
Yeah.
Which the Writers Guild of America, it's kind of this union group for a lot of Hollywood writers. I don't know, if it encompasses everyone or exactly how it all works. I don't know those specifics, but they're going on strike against the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers. Once again, I don't know the entire specifics. I tried to read into it a little bit before this podcast, but I kind of have like the main points here. The two big points that they are kind of going on strike for. One is about the residuals from streaming content, which I think was a point in the 07 to 08, but obviously on a much smaller scale because that was when Netflix was just starting. So it was kind of, no one knew where that was going at the time. So it's kind of, I feel like probably good that they should try to get more from them. Well, I don't know exactly how much they're getting, but writers always seem to be unappreciated or underappreciated rather in Hollywood. So you can't have our great movies without them. So they better get their fair share.
Absolutely. I mean, like, you cannot have a good movie without a good script. Like, it can be the best acted, best looking, best paced thing. If it's not a good script, it's nothing.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know what they get as far as residuals currently or anything, but I mean, I feel like they should still get quite a bit of that, and I don't know. Yeah,
but also, I mean, just like all the late night shows and all that too, because I know like SNL, all the talk shows involved in this too. So
yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I hope they get their what they deserve.
Yeah, and the other big oh, go ahead.
Give them the bag.
Give them the bag. The other kind of big point that I saw, which honestly, I mean, don't get me wrong, I want them to get their fair share of money and everything. I think I'm a little more interested personally in like what comes out of this part though is the use of AI in script writing.
Oh yeah.
Because the Writers Guild and this very broadly kind of what they're looking for from what I understand is they want like it to be established that AI can only be used for research and to help facilitate ideas but not replace writers in the writer's room. So I mean, to me, I think that's great. I think that's if they're getting on that right now, like this is the perfect time to be having a discussion about that before it gets a little more out of hand or anything. But yeah, I'm really interested to see what comes out of that part.
Yeah, I mean, that is interesting, especially just because Emily and I were talking on a walk yesterday about, she's like, well, just like how college kids, you don't even need to write a paper anymore. You just plug it into ChatGPT. She's like, well, but could it write a 20-page Spanish essay for me? I'm like, well, if it can't, it will be able to soon. Because, I mean, it's just crazy, the technology and how it's progressed. Yeah, I mean, it's really, I mean, the line is blurring, right? Of what is original and what is not. Like, even if you do use it as a tool, wow, where does the line end? Like, what constitutes using it kind of as a tool and for idea generation rather than full on replacing the writers? Even with the writers themselves. Like, you are controlling it and you're inputting it, but who knows? I mean, very, very interesting conversation. I don't know where all those things should be defined, or I don't know if anybody does know. Interesting question, and it's a good segue to tell you, Holden, that I am replacing you with an AI co-host.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And they have a better video background.
I wonder if there's enough, like, recordings of us for the podcast for there to be a good AI, like, double, right?
Absolutely.
You think so?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're drawing in on 200 episodes. So that's at least 300 hours of our recording voices.
That's
Absolutely.
Great. I can't wait for that to be used against me in the future. Somehow.
Well, yeah, I'm replacing you. I'm replacing both of us, actually.
Okay, yeah, we'll just use AI and then we'll reap the reward.
Yeah. Holden probably would have liked Guardians of the Galaxy. He's a Marvel shill. So create a 1.5 hour podcast.
I wonder if an AI would be able to
Galaxy.
like guess how I feel about a movie after listening, like examining all of our podcasts.
They already do that, Holden. It's called like Netflix recommendations and whatnot.
That's
YouTube
true.
knows. Google knows, Holden. Look, writer strike. It's not a good situation. Hopefully they get the bag. Give them the bag. So I don't know what to give it. A Bergeron, I guess. Hopefully they get Bombadil. That it had to come to this.
Yeah, it's kind of you can kind of look at it multiple ways. I almost want to say Brokaw that they're good that they are doing this, and they deserve to get more stuff. But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of just I think I'll go Bergeron just to average it out.
There we go. I'll go Bergeron too because it's really just all three in one.
But kind of more other things related to the writer's strike. There are some, productions that have been affected by this. Obviously, most, as you mentioned, late night shows. Pretty much, like most late night shows are affected by this, which makes sense. They're written, pretty on the fly and everything. So if you don't have writers, it's very hard. I know SNL, like the last 2 episodes of its season, got canceled just because of it. Stranger Things paused production because of it. Blade as well. God, poor Blade, that movie. We'll see how that is when it comes out. Right after the writer was just announced last week. But actually, most Disney shows and stuff are still going. Disney has kind of taken a stance and told showrunners to still show up. And they're like, if the Writers Guild of America finds you, or threatens to fine you, suck it up. That's basically what they said. So, good old Disney. Gotta love them for that, huh?
You better show up. Classic Disney. What a great monopolistic organization.
Yeah.
Union busting. Great for Disney to just continue to add on to their wonderful reputation of treating their workers well, specifically their theme park workers.
Go ahead.
I
was just going to add, I think that probably the most interesting aspect of the Disney shows that are still in production is Andor, because Tony Gilroy said he finished the last script mere days before the writer's strike, and he said it wasn't even he was trying to rush it out or anything, but he's apparently still working on Andor right now, but he's technically only doing producing stuff right now. He's trying to, or he at least officially stay away from the writing aspect for the Writers Guild and everything. But he's still he's still working on it currently, but just not for his writing duties.
It's fine, guys. It's fine. I'm rewriting these scripts as a producer.
Yeah, these
as
are
a
producer notes.
Creator. Yeah. I know. I think House of the Dragon is also going full steam ahead, but their scripts were done.
Yeah,
but I think a lot of these shows, they go through rewrites, so I don't know.
I think I saw HBO was kind of taking a similar stance to Disney, so a lot of that stuff is still going.
It's tough, right? Especially if you're in the Writers Guild, because who doesn't? If you're a writer, who wouldn't want to work in Hollywood? So it's you want to strike? Well, we'll just get all these people who will come in who are willing to do it. So, the advantages and disadvantages of capitalism, Holden. We're not gonna go into that on this podcast. Not today.
But one more thing before we move off the writer's strike. I just wanted to kind of look at the previous writer's strike.
Yeah.
Which occurred 2007 to 2008. Very infamous in several, at least in terms of how it affected production. And obviously, I think writers getting paid well is more important, but I do think it's kind of funny to look at how it did affect some productions back then. With a couple of the big, more notable ones, Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen, the second one, is a pretty notable one because that movie just was made without a complete script. They didn't even finish writing it. because of the writer's strike. And they're like, you know what? We're just going to keep going. And every time I see anything about that, I always think that the fourth one is my least favorite. But every time I see anything about that second movie, I'm like, God, that movie was bad.
No, the second one I think is the worst one.
It probably is.
First midnight premiere I went to.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And
Cool.
I remember being like, wow, this is boring. That's like a sixth grader or something.
And you still thought that. Yeah.
Fifth grade.
Another one that I always think of is Quantum of Solace, the second Daniel Craig James Bond movie, which was just such a huge drop in quality after the great Casino Royale. And like, if you watch it not knowing about the writer's strike, you just think to yourself, like, what are they thinking with this movie? Like, why are they doing this? But it makes a lot more sense when you know that it was affected by this.
Yeah. I've never seen Casino Royale, or not. I've seen Casino Royale. I've never seen Quantum of Solace.
That's okay. You're not missing out. Like, in the overall like plot of the Daniel Craig movies, it is by far the least consequential.
What does that even mean? Quantum of Solace? Is that just nonsense?
Well, so Quantum was like, from what I remember, Quantum is like the evil organization that was like controlling stuff in Casino Royale in that movie, because they at the time didn't have the rights to use the name Spectre or something.
Okay.
And so they used that, and then when they got the rights back, they're like, oh, you know what? You know, Spectre's just the bigger fish or something. I don't remember. It's something like that. So I don't know. Quantum's the name of the organization. Don't know what Quantum of Solace means, though. Just
I don't know how that has anything to do with Solace. But I am not a smart man, Holden.
The last couple things I wanted to mention about it. One, I forgot about this until I was looking up like examples of things that are affected by this strike. That the season 1 of Breaking Bad, Hank was originally supposed to die at the end.
Oh yeah, that's right.
But then they like didn't write the last 2 episodes of the season, and so he just didn't die because of that, and that's how he ended up staying in the show. So,
very interesting.
I guess
Wow.
that's like one good thing that came from it.
Yeah. But who knows? Maybe there's even a more interesting Breaking Bad character out there. But no, that Hank storyline, that's incredible. I mean, how long they draw that out and the tension of that is like,
it's so
it must
good.
have been so tempting as a writer to want to conclude it, but they didn't. So very cool. Anything else about the writer's strike, Holden?
Yeah, just one more example that I always think of is the TV show Heroes. Do you remember the show?
Oh, yes. I've heard of it. I've heard the first season is incredible. And then, because of the writer's strike, it falls off a cliff and got canceled.
This is like one of the only ones I remember like at the time kind of experiencing, and not because I didn't actively watch it, but my dad did. And I just remember him talking about like how like it just fell off a cliff after that first season, and it's just such a shame. Like I think it lasted 3 seasons, but it had so much promise, and then it just was not good after that. So but anyway, yes, that's all I have about the writer's strike, Jimmy. We can move on to other news. First up I have, or I guess second up I have, the James Gunn has said that the Black Superman movie is still being worked on. This movie is written by Ta-Nehisi Coates, probably mispronounced that. He said in regards to this and Superman Legacy, those 2 things are totally unrelated. That's an exciting movie. I know that Chantel Nong, who is the executive on that project, is extremely excited about it. So if it comes in and it's great, which I haven't read the script yet, and if the timing is right, it still will absolutely happen. It would be an Elseworlds tale like Joker. So,
I mean, nice. Is this still being produced by J.J. Abrams or whatever?
Yeah, as far as I know, this is the J.J. Abrams produced one. I know like Michael B. Jordan had been rumored to be starring in it. I don't know if that has any substantive fact to it or not, but yeah.
I mean, if there's a story to be told, awesome. Don't shut it down if just because it doesn't fit in the universe. And I like how that DC is doing this, whereas like Marvel doesn't have the Elseworld thing. I mean, they have
Yeah.
What If, but everything.
Yeah, it's
is
like the
still
closest. I'm
connected.
wondering how Deadpool 3, like I don't think it'll be else like in Elseworlds, but I also don't think it's going to be like super connected. I don't know. We'll see.
I mean, see, the thing they can do is it's the multiverse.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
then they can just do that. Like, oh, this is just a different universe.
Mm-hmm.
So, I like, look, if it's a good story, tell it. If it's not, then don't. But so I'm glad they're not shutting it down just because it's like, oh, it's not part of the universe, and we're going with this plan and all that. So good on them for doing that, I guess.
Yeah, no, I definitely think so. I think no strong opinion on the movie or anything because I don't know anything about it, but yeah, I think it's cool that they're still getting the opportunity to make it if it is good, if James Gunn likes the script.
Yeah. Hopefully the lead isn't a criminal.
Yeah.
So I'll give it a Brokaw. Sure.
Yeah, I will also give it a Brokaw.
All right.
Then the next bit I will let's do Carl Urban is apparently in talks for Mortal Kombat 2.
Which is funny because it wasn't that. What was the guy in the first one?
Kano. Yeah, he would have been perfect for that role. Like,
Yeah.
that's what I've been kind of seeing is like people are like, why didn't you just cast him as that guy? But he is in talks for Johnny Cage, who in the Mortal Kombat universe is a cocky movie star, kind of turned into a fighter. I think he's typically like just your like a typical American Hollywood actor. So I don't know if he would keep his accent or anything. But yeah, what do you think, Carl Urban in Mortal Kombat?
I mean, it's a match made in heaven. It just makes sense. Make it happen. Makes me more excited to see the movie. I'm excited to see him. I mean, obviously, if he channels some of that The Boys energy, it'll be great. So, Brokaw for me.
Yeah, I will also give it a Brokaw. I think that's all I have this week.
I got a couple things, Holden. This
Okay,
was from
mention.
last week. I totally forgot to bring it up. Well, first off, TOMP. Pedro Pascal in talks to be in Gladiator 2.
Oh, yes. Yeah, that's right. We mentioned
He
that.
just puts on a Mandalorian helmet.
We mentioned. Yeah, we mentioned that at Popeyes as well.
Oh, yeah.
We talked about that.
We might as well just start doing the podcast at Popeyes.
Yeah, our
at this
weekly
point.
Popeyes run.
Our podcast. This
Yeah.
episode proudly sponsored by Popeyes. Not for real, but in our hearts it is.
But yeah, Pedro Pascal and Gladiator 2, cool. I mean, I just love him in doing anything pretty much. So he's an actor that I'm pretty much excited for anytime he's in anything. So
Yeah, hopefully he wears a helmet this time. It's unlike Game of Thrones.
yeah,
I'd like to see him spin that staff again. A little Oberyn Martell action. So that's a definite Brokaw for me. Makes me more excited for Gladiator Part Dos.
Yeah, Brokaw for me as well.
More on Gladiator later in the podcast. A little teaser for you. A little TOGP, that one gaming podcast for you, Holden. They're apparently making a Harry Potter Quidditch game. So there's that for you. Video
interesting.
game.
Okay.
Which is why
I don't
people are
remember
like,
if I saw this. What's it?
people
what's
are
it
like,
for?
no wonder that Quidditch isn't really featured in Hogwarts Legacy. But
What's
maybe
it?
they also just-
Is it just for like all systems or anything?
That's a good question, Holden. I didn't do my research. Let's see. Harry Potter Quidditch.
My guess would be probably. I
Game.
mean, they're not going to try to limit their audience on a Harry Potter game, right?
Okay. Well, there was the original one from 2003, which was really fun, if I remember, as a kid. I didn't have it, but I played it on someone else's GameCube.
Gotcha.
Screen Rant. What do you got? All right. Blah, blah, blah. Cheer On will be similar style of game to the one that was Quidditch World Cup. Blah, blah, blah. Standalone from Hogwarts Legacy. All right. And it's called Harry Potter Quidditch Champions.
Okay.
Play testing is going to begin soon on the website.
Interesting. I mean, I guess
Let's
I don't I'm not like super into the idea of playing a Quidditch game, but it's kind of cool.
Every platform is coming to PC as well as some consoles, but the console's not confirmed yet. But there's a playtest sign-up teaser trailer.
Well, so I imagine it's at least PlayStation and Xbox, maybe Switch.
Could be fun. I don't know. A little FIFA Quidditch. Also, I heard that it's not going to be called... I'll go to a Brokaw. Whatever. Sure, Quidditch game. Fun. Sure. What are you giving to Holden?
Brokaw.
Apparently, FIFA, legendary soccer game, like FIFA wanted more money or something from EA, and they just said no. They're just not calling it FIFA anymore. It's called, I don't know, something else now.
It's just called soccer.
Yeah, soccer. No, I don't remember what its new FIFA name. It's going to be called... Okay, why is this not just in the little thing? Gotta love all this like on air research that I'm doing, and now this website just keeps
very thrilling, especially since we have the video going right now.
Yeah, it is enthralling. That webpage I just clicked on just refreshed to the top like 8 million times. EA Sports FC. Oh, terrible name.
Glad we did that.
That's a bombadil. Now I can't just be like, oh, you play FIFA? You want to play some FIFA? You want to play some EA Sports
FC?
You want to play some EA Sports Football Club FC in parentheses? Why is it called Football Club if it's soccer? Ooh, you just
gotcha
outed
there.
yourself.
This ain't Madden NFL.
As an American. All right, that's enough of that, Holden. That's the TOMPs for this week.
Yes.
Let's dive into our non-spoiler segment of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Here we go.
All right, Jimmy. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, the final Marvel movie to be directed by James Gunn, who will now be banished to the DC mines after his work on this. Obviously,
until they soft reboot it 22 years from now and bring back the legacy characters.
Yes. So it's the third movie, the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy. Some of the most well-regarded of the Marvel movies in general, I'd say. But yeah,
I've got a synopsis, Holden.
Yeah,
I've got one. Yeah, you didn't even need to stall that time.
Good.
All right, Holden. Spoilers for Part 2, Volume 2, I guess. So you haven't seen Volume 2, just skip over this whole thing. Time code's in the description. All right.
I'd be surprised if you haven't seen it.
Still reeling from the loss of Gamora. All right, spoilers for Infinity War 2, I guess. Peter Quill must rally his team to defend the universe and protect one of their own. If the mission is not completely successful, it could possibly lead to the end of the Guardians as we know them. All right, Holden.
God.
95% of Google users like this movie, but it's got an 81% on Rotten Tomatoes and a 65 on Metacritic. Overall impressions, Holden, do you think those are fair scores? Do you think they're overrating, underrating? Where are you at?
Well, so it is weird. They are lower than the other two, I think, in general, at least as far as the critics go. Well, I think this movie is really good. Like, I might say it's the best movie since, like, the Infinity War Endgame, like, in terms of Marvel movies. I love No Way Home. I think this is just a better movie than that, though. Like, for me personally. No Way Home rides a lot on the, seeing those legacy characters and seeing them interact and everything. I think this beats it, like, probably for me. Just as a movie, I don't know which one I personally enjoy more. It's hard, but I think this is probably just the stronger movie post-Endgame.
Interesting. I think there's more things that I would pick apart here, maybe critique more than No Way Home. But I don't disagree with you that maybe even with that in mind, I don't know. No Way Home is such a banger.
It is
It's such a good movie. I just that it was everything I could have hoped it was, and it's actually a good movie on top of all the fan servicey Spider-Man nostalgia thrown on top of it. So, I mean, I really like this. I don't understand why people don't like it as much from the critics' point of view. For me, I have not seen the original Guardians of the Galaxy in like 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to rewatch it this week. I didn't get around to it. I've seen Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 twice, but again, not since a year after it came out, so I'm not exactly sure when that was. What, 2019 maybe?
2018? I think that came out like 2017 in theaters.
So, yeah, so I've seen it twice. I have not, and then I saw this one once. So for me to compare them, I'm not sure, but I my initial thoughts are this is at least my second favorite one. I like it more than 2. I think I think the jokes in this movie land. I don't really remember really cringing at a joke. The only ones I didn't find that funny were the ones that were already in the trailer that I'd seen a million times.
Yeah, yeah. And even then, they still weren't too bad. Like, it wasn't awful seeing them again or anything. But no, I totally agree with that. It's different because I feel like when we watched The Suicide Squad, we talked about how James Gunn and despite, being largely hits with his comedy and everything, he is kind of scattershot with a lot of his comedy sometimes, and in his other superhero movies, it doesn't always land. But it's more hits than misses typically. But yeah, I'm kind of with you. I don't really think there were really any misses here. I think it is probably the most consistently funny one, which is weird because it's also the most consistently serious one.
Yeah,
like it balances. That's another thing I remember mentioning for the Suicide Squad. He's great at balancing those tones, and I think it's at its strongest here with just like taking itself super seriously at some moments, and it earns its doing that. But then also there's bits where it's just really funny.
Yeah, I mean at times it's just a silly cosmic adventure. I mean, you look at the production design, set design, costuming, and it's just hilarious. And it's just like fun, weird, off the wall stuff, and then you balance that out with some really like heartfelt moments. And this movie just has a lot of heart, a lot of soul. You can just feel like it's almost like you're just in your comfort zone. Like, oh, these characters, this is the third movie. They've established those relationships. It's like when you get later on in a TV show, like you've done the work of getting the characters and creating those dynamics, and now you just like let them go and feed off each other's energy. The chemistry between the characters is great. It's phenomenal. I don't think any character, at least in the Guardians of the Galaxy, is like annoying or taking away from it. I don't think any of the jokes really take away from any seriousness of the moment. You maybe could have an argument for one or two, but for me, it wasn't distracting. I wasn't like I didn't feel pulled out of any moment by a joke. I think it only enhanced it for me.
So I'll probably talk about it a little more in What Are You Doing? But I did rewatch the first two and the holiday special this week in preparation, and I think that's something that is important to note is James Gunn's Marvel movies, he does undercut serious moments with jokes, but usually it works because he lets the emotional moments play out for what they need, and then the jokes are usually not like, it's usually not at the expense of the moment or anything. It's just kind of a way to end a scene, and it works just with his expertise and balance and everything. But it's just something that Marvel movies since that first Guardians movie have tried to do outside of James Gunn, and that's a common criticism with these movies, with Marvel movies, is undercutting a serious moment with a joke. And I feel like, it typically doesn't work unless you have someone like James Gunn or even like Taika Waititi, maybe more so in Thor Ragnarok, someone like that behind the camera.
Yeah, and I credit to James Gunn, credit to the editor too, for that. So I think that works really well. I think the characters are great. I think we have a lot of really good performances. It's a long movie, but I never thought it was dull. I never thought it dragged. It's jam packed. This movie there's so much going on in this movie. a lot happened. This is one movie where I'm like, maybe could have used a little bit more fleshing out some of this stuff. Most of my critiques is just like, I would have liked to have seen more of this or more of that. Than anything else. The antagonist of this movie, Holden, is the High Evolutionary, played by the guy who plays, what's his name, Merv or whatever, and
Mern, and I have his name here. I'm going to butcher it. I always butcher it. It's Chukwudi Iwuji, something. Yeah, once again, probably butchered it. He's great in Peacemaker, though, and he's also great here, I think. One of the things that I saw, because I was trying to figure out why critics were, kind of harder on this movie as opposed to audiences and everything. A lot of them like to focus on the villain. They think the villain's kind of weak. But I disagree. I think the villain is honestly pretty great. And it's been made clear by when I was reading some interviews with James Gunn and also the actor playing him that like they were purposely not fleshing him out. Like he's just supposed to be like a genocidal monster, like crazy guy that is just unapologetically evil. We don't know his backstory, sure, but we don't need to empathize with him in any way, especially since his plot focuses so much on like animal abuse. I think it's wise to not try to empathize with him or in any way. Like,
well, yeah, like he's just so much like, if you have thinking and feeling on two different spectrums, or on the same spectrum on two different ends of it, like he is just so much in the analytical thinking side and 0% empathy. And all that. It's like he's a calculator. He's a computer. He's like, okay, if this is not perfect, then get rid of it. Try again. New batch. And I thought he was great. I think the whole history of eugenics is fascinating. This like pseudoscience and racism and ableism and all that's thrown into it, and how people rationalize these things that are really inhumane, thinking that they're like it's the benefit of the greater good. I think it's a really interesting thing, and I think it is something you can see like why he would do it. Like he is the hero in his head, and you can understand it from that point of view. But then you also see,
I mean, yeah, if
how
I mean, I guess
what's
like
that?
someone who's delusional, you could see that, I guess.
Yeah, I'm very delusional.
No.
How he's trying to justify this thing, because I mean his goal is to create a perfect society, a perfect peaceful society, and he's like, well, gotta, whatever Chris Evans' line from The Gray Man is, you gotta crack a few eggs to kill people, or whatever he says.
Oh yeah.
Gotta crack a few eggs to make an omelet. Is kind of his MO there, but I think he's really interesting. I think the performance is great. I love it when he is unhinged. He loses it. I love it when he's like trying to be warmer and nicer and kind of like fatherly to like a little baby rocket.
And how quickly he turns.
What's that?
And how quickly he can just turn and everything.
That darker side to him, and his inability to see his own delusions and his lack of empathy and the lack of humanity in him. He didn't realize that really he was imperfect and he needed to work on himself and not others. But I thought he was a really interesting villain. I like how it was like, in the same vein of Thanos. It's like, oh, I'm providing this service to everybody. You're welcome, sort of thing. And, I thought he was a good villain. I thought it was a good performance.
Yeah.
And I don't like how he was cruel to people and animals.
Not good. But yeah, I mean, all the rest of the cast is great too. I mean, all the Guardians are fantastic as usual in their own respective roles. But yeah, I'm trying to think of, I guess, like other new characters. You got Cosmo in this movie. I mean, Cosmo was in the holiday special as well, but Cosmo was pretty fun. Liked that.
One thing I will say is they kind of very, very early on in the movie, they set up a side arc with Kraglin and Cosmo, and it is just nothing happens for 2 hours, and then they're just in it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I feel like there was a lot of that left on the cutting room floor. Maybe it wasn't interesting, might have been fun. I didn't hate the fact that it was cut out. Maybe it messed up with the flow of other things, made it drag. But it did seem kind of weird to be like, oh, set this up and now forget about it, and then there it is again.
Yeah, it's very clearly like they were like the other Guardians. Like they were like, all right, you guys, you just stay here for like the movie. We don't have enough time to have you in the rest of the movie, which is kind of a shame. I mean, I find both of their performances fun, and obviously I like having a dog companion. That's always fun. But yeah, they were good, but could have probably been in it more.
I don't know how I feel about Adam Warlock in this movie. That was the one where I'm like, I don't think this was fleshed out enough. Like, I think you could have just not had him in the movie.
It's weird to me because, like, it feels like, obviously, so Adam Warlock is a big Marvel character, and so I'm sure, to some extent it was studio notes, but at the same time, like, the way that, like, the race of, like, perfect humans was crucial to the second movie, and they're obviously, like, I don't know if it's like a spoiler to talk. I mean, they're connected to the High Evolutionary. I don't know. I mean, I kind of assumed that going into this movie. That's how it was going to go down. But the fact that it's all kind of connected, that's revealed early on anyway. But it's all connected. And James Gunn has also said that he's had like most of these movies planned out as is. I mean, save some minor changes. He's had them planned out from the start. So I don't. It does feel like it was kind of shoved in there, but I also am not entirely convinced it was, and maybe it was just underdeveloped. I don't know.
I think I'm leaning towards the underdeveloped side of things, because I think there is a way to make this work, and like you said, that it does connect, it does make sense. I just felt like that never really felt satisfying to me, anything involving Adam Warlock and that storyline. But that's just me. We can dive more into that in spoilers. Otherwise, I thought Drax was great. His dynamics with specifically Nebula and Mantis, of course, is always good. And the exploration of like Drax's purpose and what he's around to do. And I thought he was hilarious, as you can imagine. Lots of cute animals. I think the movie is somewhat predictable. But even though it is somewhat predictable, I still thought a lot of it was very satisfying and came to a head.
It's predictable to a point, but it also kind of didn't end exactly where I was thinking it was going to. So
no, I agree. I just like, I thought the movie was paced really well. I was entertained throughout. There's some really good action in it as well.
Yeah. And
I thought the effects were good. I know it was never pulled out by the CGI. I was like, no, that looks bad. I'm sure if you paused it and whatever dissected it, you could poke holes and things. But from an immersion standpoint, I was never pulled out of the movie. So that's good. And I can't say that for every Marvel movie I've ever seen. Certainly.
Yeah. Well, regarding the action, upon rewatching the first two, I kind of had forgotten that all three are pretty like top tier MCU like fights. Like, I mean, I wouldn't say it's like, I'm always going to mention this for the next few months. It's not like John Wick 4, like, which I don't want. I know you can't really compare them or anything, but like it's very just well thought out, and they are pretty great fight scenes in all three of them, I think. And it's very easy to tell what's going on. Very fun kind of team up moves. They do some good 1-2 combos with some of the characters and everything. They make good use of being a team. So
yeah, lots of good things to say. I cried a couple times. Full on tears.
You're gonna have to tell me when they were. I didn't quite cry. Their tears were welling up, but I didn't quite get there. Yeah.
Sorry that I have a soul. Yeah, no, I thought this was a very good, satisfying conclusion to the Guardians of the Galaxy James Gunn saga. I will miss these characters, the ones that will definitely not be returning, and I'll miss just looking forward to these types of movies, them in the Avengers movies, all that stuff. It definitely was bittersweet leaving this theater because I was like, dang, I really like that movie, but also I'll never get one of these again.
Yeah,
for the first time. So, but I guess you want to be left wanting more.
Yeah, which is good. And
So.
I think it's great that James Gunn's vision was seemingly pretty realized with how he wanted it from the start. I was reading something that apparently, like, even the Gamora dying thing, like, that was maybe a wider Marvel decision, but if it hadn't been decided for Infinity War, he was, like, thinking about having her die at the end of Volume 2.
Yeah,
anyway.
I saw that as well. And that he didn't want Star-Lord to punch Thanos or whatever.
Yeah, I did see that too.
But I think it all worked out pretty well, all said and done. So,
couple things I wanted to mention before we move on to spoilers. One, we didn't mention the soundtrack, which, of course, James Gunn movie, so it's big focus of it is the soundtrack, and it is great in this. I mean, there's a couple songs that were in the trailers, but there's some other ones too, and it always just fits the mood of the scene perfectly. James Gunn just understands that so well, and he talks about how he just has it like in his head when he's writing the movie and everything, and he comes up with like secondary options. I actually saw too that this movie had the first song that he was unable to get the rights for it. So one of the songs in it is actually his second choice, but
oh wow.
He will not. He says he's not going to reveal which one because he doesn't want to be like, oh, I didn't really want that song in the movie. But
that's funny.
Yeah, but I mean, it all works no matter what. It's not like one is standing out as obvious or anything. The other thing I wanted to mention, and we kind of touched on it earlier, but I want to mention it before I forget, is I was in the theater. I was watching this, and like the bit where they're kind of on the fleshy planet and everything, and they that's in the trailer, but I was comparing it to like Quantumania, where like in this movie there's like a ton of just really weird concepts, like weird races of aliens and everything, but it all congeals together really well because of James Gunn's vision and like just his world building and everything. Where in that movie it was just like they just had like random things for the sake of being random, and that was something I remember criticizing that movie for. Was it just kind of felt like, oh, there's a broccoli guy. Okay. Like it's just like whatever. There's just everything was thrown at the wall. But yeah, I thought it worked a lot better in this movie.
I agree. All right, Holden, what are you going to give this for your rating?
I'm at a 8.5, I think. Might even go
Very
up to
nice.
a 9 if I rewatch it. It's really good. So
Yeah. Not good enough to make you cry, apparently, though.
I wanted to. It's not like I was trying not to.
Yeah, I think it's a very, very good movie. Look, who is it for? It is for anybody who's a Marvel fan. All right? If you like remotely the first two, you're gonna enjoy this. If you just, I mean, you gotta be a Marvel fan, though. I think if you just go into this without having seen anything, you might have still some enjoyment out of it, but you won't understand as much. So, and you won't. You'd be doing yourself a disservice. So catch up on the Marvel stuff. And, obviously our podcast is going to be following all the new Marvel things. So then you can enjoy that with us too. So I would say if you're a Marvel fan, it's a slam dunk. It's a great movie. One of the best of this phase. And in the Endgame era, it's one of the best as well. There. So, yeah, definitely, James Gunn, way to go. You brought it home. You did a nice job. I'm glad you got uncanceled. This would have been a shame if this movie just never came to be.
Yeah, that would have been awful. I mean, even if, going along with your recommendation, even if you're someone who's been like kind of falling out of love with Marvel, I think like if you liked the first two Guardians movies, it's worth coming back for this. And you don't really need to watch like you don't necessarily need to catch up with all the Marvel movies if you don't want to for this one. Like, I mean, I would watch.
But
the first two.
I mean, like, if you haven't seen any Marvel stuff, you can't just go. I'm saying, like, you got to at least have seen the event, like, of Infinity War Endgame. Like, you got to be at least there. If you're there, you can watch this.
Yeah. Watch the holiday special too if you want. It's not crucial, but it's you get some more context for some stuff.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, there we go. Let's dive into our spoiler review.
Perfect. All right, spoilers for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Quite a bit to go through. The first one I want to mention is that opening scene is like terrifying. Like where it's like High Evolutionary's hand coming into the like get the raccoon. It was like the sound design of the whole scene. It was just like it felt very intimidating. It was like borderline silent, but it was also just like foreboding and everything. I was like hooked from the start because I was like, oh, that's creepy.
Yeah.
And that's in the trailer too, but the way it plays out in the movie, I think is very effective. But movie opens, we're at nowhere, the space station thing that the Guardians have essentially revitalized, and it starts out with Creep being played over the Radiohead song playing over the, I can't remember. It's not a Walkman anymore. I don't remember.
It's a Zune.
It's a Zune. Okay.
Yeah, the Microsoft one.
Yeah, Rocket's listening to it over Zune, and I think that whole intro is really pretty cool because I mean, good music in the background, but then you have Rocket kind of walking through, and it's a good way of establishing what all of our characters are doing, and most of them are helping rebuild this place, and Rocket's feeling a little down, so yeah, I liked that whole intro.
Yeah, then Adam Warlock just comes out of nowhere. Mm-hmm. Well, he comes into nowhere, actually. And he just starts wrecking. I mean, the dude is just like OP.
Yeah.
He's like him and Captain Marvel, all right, basically at this point. And he just does some damage, man. It's like Man of Steel, where just things are just falling over and busting. And I'm like, how many people are just randomly dying in the middle of this? But yeah, no, I thought that was a very pretty fun fight. You got to see all the Guardians come in, try to take him out, and Rocket just gets lasered, blasted. Yeah,
and it kind of puts him in the coma for the rest of that movie, or for most of the movie, which I was kind of surprised by. I was surprised how long he was out of commission, and it's not even like. I feel like sometimes in these types of movies, like someone will be out of commission just because they're like overpowered or something or for some reason, but it's not like Rocket is overpowered, but it was a good way to, good motivation for the team and everything to get going. The thing I always think of with that opening fight with Adam Warlock is they play into it heavily in this movie is like Nebula's like invincibility and her just like reforming after getting like every like part of her shattered. Yeah. Like there was a lot of that in this opening fight, and I think it's really creepy and cool the way they do that. So I like that.
But then we're interrupted with some really cute animals. Oh, they're so cute. Even the scary rabbit spider thing.
Yeah.
Floor is cute. And Teefs. Teefs. And Lila. Apparently otters are just awful animals.
Really?
Horrible. Look cute. Apparently just horrible to each other and to other species.
They are really cute.
They are really cute, though, aren't they? They're just like little demons, I guess. Which is, I don't know. I haven't done any research, but that's what I'm hearing. But man, they're so adorable, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, they're all gonna die. And yeah, that's why he's so scarred and jaded and just guarded and. That's why Raccoon is the way he is, and I'm like, I know this is gonna happen, but animals they're just so cute.
I was kind of surprised actually that all three of them died.
I was surprised that two of them died essentially off screen.
Yeah,
I thought like they were gonna go down one at a time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it was. I mean, that was pretty intense, but it is also just like heavily foreshadowed because they like every one of the scenes of them just ends with like them saying like, "Oh, it's great to have friends." I'm like, "Oh my god, dude!
Oh, let's play.
They're gonna die.
Let's give each other names and grow attached."
Yeah, it was
even when Lila dies, just that huge cinematic sweeping hug that's in the trailer and just.
Well, and see, so that's Marvel used their classic tricks in the trailer, maybe a little less so than they often do, but for like in the trailer when Rocket's interacting with like Lila and everything, it's Bradley Cooper. It makes it sound like it's adult Rocket like doing the laughing or whatever, and I'm like,
oh yeah.
So I was expecting a reunion or something, but then no, it wasn't.
Oh, I was not. I was like, Lila is the most dead of them all. Like, he cannot be that jaded. Unless there's some sort of betrayal or something. But, like, here's my one question. They call the thing inside his heart a kill switch. Like, if they really wanted to kill Rocket, why didn't they just activate that? I mean, all they wanted was his brain. So...
yeah, I don't know.
That was one question. I'm like, I just feel like maybe they should have explained that. Again, that was something more I was thinking about later, not during. But that is something I can forgive because I am not one minor plot hole destroys the whole movie for me. And again, that's something you could easily explain, or you don't even need to. It's fine. I thought it was good, but little Rocket doing his little science. Oh, you just gotta do this and do that.
It's so cute, little Rocket.
And it is. I mean, even like so you talk about eugenics, but then it even brings in these questions of AI. Like, yeah, AI can rote memorization is like the problem with all of these creatures that the high evolutionary makes. They're not able to create, except for Rocket is the one that has an original idea and it can create. And that's why he's so obsessed with Rocket. Now, we don't know why Rocket is that way. It's never really explained. But that's why he's so obsessed with him. He wants his brain. And I thought that was a really cool idea as well. A little sci-fi element to throw in there as well. Yeah.
And as you mentioned in non-spoilers, I think that like relationship between the high evolutionary and Rocket is just like... It gets pretty dark and everything. It feels like an abusive parent kind of thing where it's, I mean, there are the good moments, but then there's like, I mean, there's like the moment where he's like, it wasn't really clear exactly what was wrong with him, but the high evolutionary like came in like spur of the moment thought and was like, trying to get Rocket out of the cage and everything. And it's just, yeah, it's very, I can understand why it's traumatizing for Rocket.
Yeah, no, I really liked a lot of this. A lot of the creatures that he made were just disturbing too. Weird.
Yeah, it was very, those like transformation bits were pretty disturbing. Or like they're the evolution ray or whatever you call it. Yeah, that
like
was
simulated like 1 million years of evolution or something, or billion.
Yeah, just like can't imagine what that does to a creature going through that. But yeah, I mean, even when you see him later on, and he has like the giant robot pig thing, and like it's just, yeah, very, very interesting, but
very
cool
weird.
designs.
But you like see it and you don't think it. Oh, you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
What James Gunn can get away with in his weird little world, but it's all grounded in what they've established earlier on in the movie.
Well, I think.
Go ahead.
I know I'm just like focusing on the high evolutionary stuff right now, but I think like the most disturbing part is like what Rocket does to him. Like,
yeah, I mean,
the bit where he's
when
like,
they show his face at the end, just.
Yeah, that was I'm like, I can't believe they're showing this. Well,
Like
I mean, it was that
one face.
Yeah, I mean, he had it was bad enough that I mean, the scene where Rocket was just like slashing at his face and him like screaming in agony and everything. It was like, oh my god. And I mean, they weren't showing it really much, but it was pretty gruesome. And then yeah, the aftermath, that was quite a bit. That was a lot.
Yeah. One person we haven't talked about, one character we haven't talked about yet is Gamora. And I thought that was an interesting storyline too, of like, naturally, if you're Star-Lord, you're like, this is the person I fell in love with, right? So like, you're the same person, so you are going to fall in love with me again. But then him coming to terms with that she's not, and she doesn't need to be, and he can miss the Gamora he knew and still be amicable and understand that this is with this new Gamora, and come to terms with that she's a different Gamora and they're not the same, and that doesn't mean, it just helps him come to terms with that loss and be able to kind of move forward with his life.
I honestly wasn't expecting that too. Like I went into this fully thinking somehow they were gonna play it off like, oh, they fall back in love or something. Like, I don't know. I did, for some reason, not in like a million years was I thinking that they were actually going to be like mature about like the outcome of this relationship and everything. But I think that was probably one of the biggest surprises for me, was that they just had Star-Lord come to terms with the fact that Gamora he loved is gone, and this new Gamora never really reciprocates that. Seems to grow fondness for the crew, but not like a love or anything. So yeah, she's got her own thing going on with the Ravagers. Orgo Corp, that was pretty fun little bit. Again, the little silly looking planet. You had the fun conversation between Star-Lord in like the private channel, and they're like, "Oh, red means yellow and yellow means green." And why would you do that? I don't know. It seems pretty intuitive to me. That was really funny bit there, and just this different suits, just fun, works. Mantis makes the guy fall in love with Drax.
That's hilarious every time.
I was fully expecting Mantis to make those big monsters fall in love with Drax at the end. I thought that's where that scene was going when she was like taming them. I was like, she's gonna make them fall in love with Drax because it was set up earlier, but it didn't actually do that. I thought that would have been funny.
That didn't cross my mind. But it was fun to see Nathan Fillion too. He was just chewing the scenery in great ways. And I love that bit where they're just like, oh yeah, I got one of those guys too. It was one of those morons, you got to deal with them. Oh man, I got one of those too. That's a joke they kind of came back to way more often than I thought they were going to. I thought it was just going to be like that one-off scene. Like, oh yeah, I know that guy too. And then they just kept coming back to it, even when it was like he wasn't even talking to like one of the Guardians, just someone else.
Yeah, it was when he was talking to like Adam Warlock and whatever. Yeah, but he was great. Loved him. Loved seeing him there. Had James Gunn's wife was in it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she was the lady on the intercom.
Oh, she was.
What's her name from Peacemaker?
Oh. Harcourt?
Yeah, no. Harcourt.
Harcourt is James Gunn's wife?
You didn't know that?
Where?
What?
We probably talked about that on this podcast, Olden.
Yeah, no, because that's like a whole thing on the internet right now, is people are angry at James Gunn for putting her in everything, even though like that's not uncommon for directors put like people in movies all that. Like Nathan Fillion is in different James Gunn movies, like. It's just people showing their maybe their hand of how they feel about women.
Well, it's like yeah. Why wouldn't he do that?
Yeah, she's a good actress.
She was good. Like I didn't even know. Like I wouldn't have blinked twice. I'm not like, wow, that lady's really bad.
Yeah.
If she stinks, then make a big deal out of it. If she doesn't stink, who cares? Like, why wouldn't you? If she wants to do it, if you want to do it.
Like, I know it's not family, but Quentin Tarantino puts, like, the same people in his movies all the time. Like, who cares?
Yeah. I thought she was good. Obviously, Star-Lord is kind of does his charm and all that. I thought that was a good little twist when he's like, yeah, I was just playing her. And gets all the floaty suits. A lot of fun action bits there as well. There's the one guy that, what does he look like, a carrot? Is that what it was?
What?
What was the one alien guy? Was he looking like a carrot or something?
I can't remember what the joke with that. It was something like that, yeah.
It's pretty funny. But yeah, I that whole sequence I thought was a lot of fun. Little excursion. They can't get the override file. That cool file wall was like.
I liked that.
Kind of gave me a little bit of Rogue One vibes, where they're looking for the Death Star files. Which, man, I really want to rewatch Rogue One after Andor. But apparently, never mind. Not going to talk about Andor here.
Don't get into Andor right now. Yeah, no, I liked that whole sequence. It holds up because it's so fun, even though, like, in the grand scheme of things, like, they really don't accomplish much in that. Like,
no, they don't. They basically are like, well, shoot, it's probably in that one guy's head.
Yeah.
Reminds me of, like, what's his Lobot or whatever from Star Wars, from Bestman.
Yeah, it looks like
He's
Lobot.
got the thing in his head.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's Lobot.
Mm-hmm. Lobot, yep. But yeah, I thought that was fun, whole thing. And then they go to Counter Earth, which they meet that bat family.
Yeah.
There's like,
yeah, no,
just communicating to each other.
All the animal people looked great. It was a really good mix of practical costumes and CG. I thought it was very fun and unnerving too. Like it was like what's the thing where it doesn't look quite real, or like Uncanny Valley. It was like Uncanny Valley, but kind of used like on purpose. I think it was unnerving, but I liked it.
Yeah, no, it's very unsettling. The signs, like, why did they do this? Drax, hits the kid with the volleyball. I think that's in, or not the volleyball, the kickball. I think that's in one of the trailers, but still hilarious.
Yeah, pretty much everything with Drax in this movie is great. He's
him with all the little kids.
Yeah, doing the monkey noises or whatever.
That's a monkey? Like, just doesn't even sound like a monkey.
Yeah, it's like he's like doing a robot dance.
You speak their language? Why didn't you tell us you spoke their language? Why didn't you ask? And like normally like that would just be annoying, but like with the way they've set up Drax's character, that's exactly what Drax would have done. Like it would never even occurred to him to be like, oh yeah, I speak their language. It's like, you didn't ask. And then Mantis can just make him forget. Like, you think I'm stupid? Forget this conversation. All right, you're welcome that I did this. Let's get these kids out of here,
And that made me think of the bit where like Mantis has Drax go talk to Star-Lord and use like the metaphor or whatever.
Yeah, that was funny as well. Drax, that made sense. Yeah, it's a metaphor, like, and he goes on all those bits. Yeah, I will miss Dave Bautista as Drax.
Yeah, he is probably I don't know if he's my favorite character. I mean, he is the funniest, I think, consistently. I also do think like so much of the humor comes from him and Mantis. Like Mantis is great too.
There's a touch him to make him happy joke, whatever.
Oh yeah,
like,
yeah, that was like towards the beginning or something.
I'm like, wow. We have the MCU's first F word.
Mm-hmm.
That was fun.
It was pretty. Yeah,
I could feel the parents cringing.
Really?
Could you? I could just like, there were some definitely some kids in our audience. Like I could just feel the parents are like, oh no, what did they say? But
yeah, no, it was kind of fun because it was just in like a very mundane situation too. Like just, but I really liked that. It was
funny.
It was.
Very funny. I mean, this is spoilers, so you know when it happened. But yeah, I mean, Counter Earth, that was fun. Weird. You have the big ship. I like how Drax tricks Mantis to get on the motorcycle. Oh, let's just ride it back to the ship, just right there. Yes. Like,
well, yeah, and that's
clearly like those two characters have such great chemistry, and that's why it's just such a shame that we won't see them anymore. But it's so good.
Yeah, and that's another perfect example of like if it were another character, like it's almost like if it were another character, it would make me really angry that they're just not at the ship, because it's like very convenient that no one is at the ship to like help them get off the planet or whatever, and only Gamora is there. Gamora doesn't really know how to fly it or whatever. But it's something Drax would do, so it's like funny and it makes sense. I like it.
Yeah. I suppose she could have just mind controlled him though and said, "Take me back to the ship." But
That's true.
Again, that's a plot thing that I like. It works for me in the moment. Doesn't break my immersion. If I think about it later, I don't. It. The rest is so.
It doesn't ruin
a
the
good.
scene.
It's just such a high quality writing that it's just not going to bother me. Let's see. One of the other things that I wanted to talk about was Craiglin and Cosmo. I mean, obviously, like the whole bad dog joke was funny. Like you're like, oh come on, I'm not the bad dog. like even though it's like very like low hanging fruit humor, it's still funny, and that they're building it up for the good dog moment. I thought the good dog moment was a little underwhelming for how much they built it up. I was like, I was expecting a little bit more from that moment, but whatever.
Yeah, it was still funny. I think one of the things that they've done so well with Cosmo, from what little we've seen of her, is like she's just like, I mean, the important part of the character is that she's incredibly intelligent, and she has these psychic powers, but she is still a dog, so like just thinks of how a dog would act, and so the whole bad dog thing, of course she'd get maybe fixated on that and everything. And they do that in the Guardians of the Galaxy game too, I think, pretty well.
Which I was gonna say, like, this movie just makes me want to play that game again.
Yeah,
it's
just
like,
so you can
man,
experience the team again.
If you liked this movie and you have not played the Guardians of the Galaxy game, and you're like, man, I wish I had more Guardians of the Galaxy in my life, go and play that game. It is great. It nails a lot of the characters and the tone. It is just like an extension of this, honestly. It feels very, it's very enjoyable. It's funny. You got a lot of that stuff. Go check it out.
Yeah, they take a lot from the characterization of the MCU versions of the characters. It's not like it is part of the MCU or anything, but it's great. It's awesome.
Yeah. Obviously, we have the whole segment on the High Revolutionary Ship, where we have the sequences with the kids that we kind of talked about already. But yeah, no, I enjoyed a lot of that stuff. Anything else you want to like talk about specifically, like on the ship?
Yeah, I don't really think so. I do like how
Groot. We haven't really talked about Groot at all. Groot doesn't do a ton, I feel like.
Yeah, there's not a ton of Groot, which I think I was thinking about that post movie. Like pretty much every character in this gets, I think, like a solid conclusion, like solid arc or whatever for their character. Groot doesn't, but at the same, I was also thinking like, it's not like Groot has had a ton to do in this series in general. He is mostly like comic relief, kind of like the heart and marketable character. I think he just works well as like a little side character. Like, I mean, first of all, we can't understand him, so it's like kind of hard, I think, for him to have like a super complex arc or anything. But yeah, I think he served his purpose well in the trilogy still.
Yeah, I mean, you have the whole Gamora kind of dynamic with him, where she is able to understand him finally at the end.
Yeah, true.
Which was a nice little thing. But him and Star-Lord jumping off, that was fun. And that moment where they conceal it, pretty good.
I think one of the things I liked about like Star-Lord confronting the High Evolutionary is he's clearly just like out for blood with this guy. He just like does not care about like what this guy has to say.
It's a trap. No, it's a face-off.
Yeah, and I think that's it. Like, well, obviously they can't play into it too much. PG-13, family movie or whatever. Like the Guardians, they're not like super do-gooders. Like they will kill people if they need to. Like
they're trying not to.
Yeah, they try not to, but they're not afraid to.
At least Peter Quill does.
Yeah. I think that's something that like it like he's clearly seeing red in this moment and everything, but yeah, it's just distinguishes them a bit from a lot of the other heroes.
I thought Rocket was gonna die.
Me too.
Until when he's like, when you have the shot from the trailer where Peter is just like freaking out, thinking that he's dead, Star-Lord, that Rocket's dead. And I thought he was dead until he goes into like heaven, like Deathly Hallows style.
Yeah, I was going to say Harry Potter style.
And Lila's there and she's like, oh, you're like, time, whatever she says. It's like, but not yet. Like, you can come spend time with us. And I'm just like, she's going to say, but not yet. Like, I was just waiting for that. And it finally came. Very similar to Dumbledore and Harry. But
yeah, I think the thing that for me, it was like the scene was like, it would have been weird if he died where he did. It was like a weird placement in like I think in the overall like just story. So I was like, there's no way. I just didn't feel like he was actually gonna die here. And then when he like flatlined, I was like, oh, maybe. But then yeah, what's the whole?
I mean, I think there would have been something poignant about, you know, not being able to say goodbye, and something kind of realistic about that. How it is kind of like he's just gone, and you know. But I like him coming back. It was fun. They have the big showdown to save everybody and then go back for all the animals and whatnot. It was a nice thing.
Yeah, his moment in with all the animals and the baby raccoons, it was really, really sweet.
Obviously, the standout action sequence is in that one corridor. Very like Kingsman-esque, I want to say, with all kind of like the camera movement specifically made me think of that.
Yeah.
I actually liked it more than the Kingsman stuff.
Yeah,
that's blasphemous to say.
I mean, it is great. It kind of goes back to what I mentioned earlier, where like every Guardian gets their chance to shine in it. Like it keeps like jumping between them, and then each one gets like a couple guys or whatever, and then it'll jump to the next one. Sometimes there's some combo moves done, and it's really hard to tell what's CG and what isn't, because I mean, I think some of it is at least practical. I mean, the actors look like they're there a lot of the time, like so it's kind of hard. And I mean, there's a lot of, you know, kicks and punches, so I'm sure at least some of that is real. But yeah, it's great, that whole sequence. I don't remember what song plays at that point, but it's pretty awesome.
Is it the Brooklyn song?
Oh yeah, the second No Sleep Till Brooklyn or whatever.
Yeah, No Sleep Till Brooklyn. Was that in Mario?
Yeah, that's what I was referring.
Much better in this.
Yeah, it fit a lot better in this movie.
Yeah, no, that was really fun. Yeah, then they come and save the day. You get to see High Evolutionary's face. And
I thought it was funny how quickly they just beat him up. Like,
yeah, they pulled a Boys season 2 and just beat the crap out of him.
Yeah, it was like, I mean, he had like quote unquote mastered gravity or whatever. He had powers over gravity, and like I didn't see the gravity boots coming into play there. I was like, oh, okay, they had set up the gravity boots earlier, so
they did.
Yeah. But then they just beat the crap out of him very easily. Everyone gets like a couple punches in, and Rocket decides not to kill him.
Craiglin has that moment with the arrow, little Yondu, flashback. You gotta aim with your heart, boy. Whatever he says. But yeah, no, I thought that was all nice. Then they go back and they kind of say, "Hey, it's time to go our separate ways." And Rocket obviously gets to be the new leader of the Guardians. Rocket, Groot, Craiglin, Cosmo, Adam Warlock. Is that?
And then there's like the kid.
Yeah, that one kid.
Which apparently is like a character. I think I was like reading the Wikipedia summary to try to remember everything, and they listed the character's name. I'm like, oh, okay, so it's a character from the comics side. I wasn't familiar with her.
So yeah, that was interesting. Then you got the post-credit scene with them as they're attacking. But then also with Star-Lord going to meet his grandfather, and Star-Lord's coming back, which I'm a little surprised by, actually.
Yeah, I mean, I think I think it would be really easy for the Guardians team to come back. I mean, because really the big ones are Rocket and Groot, and it's just voices basically, right? Like, so I feel like that would be likely that we could see more of that new team or whatever. But yeah, Star-Lord's the main like live action cast member that's going to be returning. I mentioned to you after the fact, he's like the only one that hasn't said he's not coming back. So I was like, that makes sense.
He doesn't have to put on any makeup. I mean, he has to put on makeup, but he doesn't have to go through the whole transformation either.
It's a lot easier for him, for sure. But yeah, no, I'm excited to see more of him. I think it's good. I think it'll be probably more on like a, Avengers, Secret Wars, whatever situation. He'll come back and help fight or whatever. I mean, his character arc, I think, is mostly done. So I don't think we're going to get a ton of Star-Lord or anything.
Yeah. So, anything else, Holden? We have talked about this movie for a long time. We've really gone through every moment that I could really remember.
What moments did you cry at?
I'm trying to, well, obviously when all the animals die, but I think even just like when all the animals are having fun and playing together and me just knowing they're all going to die. And I'm like, this is so wholesome. They're going to die. Groot says, "I'll love you guys." That didn't do anything for me, honestly.
It was kind of weird.
I don't think they earned that moment.
No.
It wasn't the "We are Groot" or whatever he says in the first one. Like, pretty sure I cried at that.
Yeah, that was something. That was good.
This I just felt like I'm like, I guess that was funny and hard. I don't know, I just didn't.
It was
feel
like
really
the one
either.
beat that really just didn't work that well.
It works on paper more than it does like in the moment. Like, it feels like it should work, but it didn't. So I don't know. It was weird because I was invested in everything else.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, everyone else's endings very emotional. I like that. We didn't really mention much about Nebula, but I like that she's kind of in charge of nowhere now. Gives her a sense of purpose.
Drax is not the destroyer; he's a dad.
Yeah,
and that was fun.
Which is really sweet considering his backstory of his, dead family members and everything. So that's really good. Okay, I forgot to mention this when we were mentioning Gamora and everything. I honestly, for a good portion of the movie, thought they were gonna do Chris Pratt or Star-Lord and Nebula like get together.
I thought so too. I thought they were totally doing that in the trailer, and it's really just that joke. That's it.
Well, there's that joke, but it was. I think that was reinforced by the fact there's a lot of them like teaming up in the movie. There's a lot of them like having these interactions, especially about Gamora and stuff. I was like, I feel like this is happening, and then it didn't. So,
and
I think I'm okay with that. But I mean, I was. The joke in the trailer I thought was kind of funny, but in context I was like, oh, maybe they are like actually doing that. I don't know. God.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Good dance scene at the end. Apparently James Gunn, I don't think he's actually in it, but apparently he helped instruct how to do some of the dancing or something. There's like some behind the scenes where he's a part of it somehow. So that's fun. But I'm
a little surprised there's like no John Cena in it.
Oh yeah, that would have made sense. Right. Maybe Marvel has larger plans for John Cena.
Oh jeez. Yeah. But I think that pretty much wraps it up for me. Holden, any other final things to say?
I don't think so. No.
All right. Then let's move on to our final segment, which of course is What Are You Doing?
What are you doing? What are you doing? No, what are you doing? What are you doing? No, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Well, Jimmy, as I mentioned earlier, I did rewatch all three previous Guardians kind of things. I think my official ranking of them, I won't include the holiday special because it's kind of different, but I think I'd probably still say 1 is the best, just because I think it established so much and did such a good job of bringing everything in. I think I have to look at it that way. I am probably going to go 1, 3, 2, though. I think I probably do like this one more than 2, even though on rewatch I did like 2 more. I even think it's probably funnier than 1 to me. But yeah, I think just overall, probably 1 is the best still. But yeah,
that's probably the consensus, honestly.
What?
I'm guessing that's the consensus, is 1 is the best.
Probably. I'm happy to see how much like the general audience is liking this new one. I was kind of worried it was going to be kind of mixed, but no, it's been good. I'm glad people like it. Then I think the only other thing I really watched was I rewatched The Fate of the Furious. I'm almost almost caught up on my rewatch. And that one was better this time. I remember thinking like after 7 it was such a step down. It is, but there's a couple like genuinely really good fight scenes. It's mostly Jason Statham who is, knows how to fight, but yeah, he's got a couple good action sequences in it. So yeah, liked that. TV really haven't watched much this week. I watched some more Succession, but that's about it. And game-wise, I finished Burning Shores. Started and finished it, I think. Really liked it. I think as an ending to the overall game, it works really well. I think the final boss of it is a lot better than the final boss of the main game. Yeah, I just had a lot of fun with it. Liked it a lot. I did pretty much all the side stuff. I didn't quite get all the trophies, but there's no platinum trophy for it. So what's the point?
What's the point?
Yeah.
$20?
Yeah, I think it's 20. Yeah.
Was it worth it?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Nice.
Yeah, if nothing else, there's the two standout things are I thought the final boss was a lot of fun, but then there's also like the second to last mission was like weirdly open-ended. It felt like I mean, I don't want to. It's not really Last of Us 2. Like, it is a very big open area where it felt like you could just kind of like. It felt like you were kind of going at your own pace, like doing different objectives. It felt very different from other Horizon missions. I really liked it. It was cool, and it was in like a theme park, so it was kind of a cool setting and everything.
Really cool.
But yeah. Then I started playing, after that, I was like, I need to get back into the Kingdom Hearts. It's been about a year since my last one, so I'm playing Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep, which was one that was originally on the PSP. It's, to a lot of people, it is the best one, and it is really good. Honestly, it might be my favorite so far. I think it's the perfect balance of fun combat, and the Disney worlds are more bite-sized. There's a lot. It feels more linear in a lot of ways, and I think I appreciate that. I assume that's because it was on the PSP and was, a handheld. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it. They have this is the first one with a Lilo and Stitch world, so I'm.
Oh, there we go.
I'm into that. But. Yeah, I think that's about it for me. Jimmy, what about you? What have you been doing?
Well, I watched the most recent episode of Succession that came out as we were recording this last Sunday, which was April, right? Well, yeah.
Heard that one was good, too.
It was good. They've been good, Holden. Maybe you should catch up and watch them so we can review them next week.
Maybe I
should. Otherwise, Holden, I've been watching a little bit more Barry. I think just like 1 or 2 episodes since then, so I kind of slowed down. But the main story here, the headline, Holden, is I was teaching about ancient Rome this week in the Gladiators. So I'm like, it is time for me to have a date with Russell Crowe in the year 2000.
You should show Gladiator in class.
Gladiator. Are you not entertained? It's all right. I was wondering, how did this movie win Best Picture? It looks great. Phenomenal looking movie. The effects from 2000 hold up surprisingly well. Mm-hmm. Like, you think about, like, this came out the year after The Phantom Menace. Like, this looks really good. And really, I like rented it, and I had to rent it because it wasn't on anything except like Paramount or I don't know, something I didn't have. So I'm like, I'm just gonna rent it, and watched it in 4K. It was glorious. The action is dated. It's just modern day action in movies is just so much better than it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
Like in mainstream American movies, at least.
John Wick changed things.
It's honestly, well, I mean, it's like we finally looked at what was happening in like Hong Kong and Jackie Chan and all that stuff, and like, oh, this is gonna be good.
Wow, this is good stuff.
So like, you know, it was fine. I think a lot of things are really undercooked. There's just random romance in it that doesn't need to be in it at all. Have you seen Gladiator, Holden? I forgot.
I have. It was like high school, so I don't really remember a ton of it.
It just falls into like all the historical epic tropes and just leaves a lot of stuff undercooked. There's a lot of really good ideas that I was really interested in. Joaquin Phoenix is great. Mm-hmm. I think they could have even given him
remember
even
him
more.
being a fun, slimy bad guy.
Yeah, he could have had even more, I think. Some references to Hannibal Barca of Carthage. Gotta love that. Some references to Cleopatra.
Where's the Vin Diesel Hannibal movie?
Gotta love. Yeah, exactly, Holden. Coming at you after Fast. Are they doing 11?
Yeah, 11's supposedly the last one.
After Fast 11, Holden, he's doing Hannibal. Can't wait. The trilogy. It's coming. But yeah, I liked it enough. I think the score is like kind of bad.
Really?
Like I mean they might have won like best Oscar for it. I mean there's like one theme which is good, but like the other part of it is just a ripoff of Mars from Holt's Planet.
Oh yeah, who did the score for it?
It's Hans Zimmer and some other guy.
Okay.
But I'm like I literally I'm like, is this just Mars, the musical piece that was from the planet's symphony or whatever you want to call it? And it's like it is, but it's not. It's like a cheap, like
obviously
clearly
inspired.
there's just like temp music that Ridley Scott had in there, and he's like, well, I know I want it to sound like this, and I don't think it fits really at all.
Interesting.
And so it's just weird. I'm gonna
have to. Yeah, I mean, I know they're making the sequel. I'm gonna have to rewatch it now. I'm at least intrigued based on what you're saying. I remember kind of similar reaction. I remember being like, yeah, it's fine, whatever. It didn't really leave a big impact on me in my youth.
Yeah, not really historically accurate, as you can imagine. But one thing I do appreciate is they talked about kind of how being a gladiator is not about killing people. It's more about putting on a show, which it is. But then, again, they just went off and killed everybody. Which, Holden, if you were a gladiator, you had a 90% chance of surviving your fight.
Wow.
So, there you go. You still probably died young because you fought more than 10 times, generally.
90%. I like those odds, Jimmy. Let's start it up again.
Never tell me the odds. I'm Han Solo, captain of the Millennium Falcon. I want your money. Otherwise, let's see. Watched the new Ted Lasso. Ted Lasso this season is very mid, but it's feel good, so I enjoy it still.
Disappointing.
Otherwise, I think that's pretty much it, Holden. I'm probably blanking on something, but it's obviously not important enough because I forgot to write it down. So that's it, Holden. Next week, we're gonna review Succession so far because you're gonna catch up.
I don't know if I am, Jimmy. We'll see. I'm gonna try to.
We're gonna can we at least review it through the one episode that everybody talks about, which is what, the fourth episode? You can do it, Holden. You watched all the Fast and Furious movies. What else would we do, Holden?
I don't know. I mean, we could do a request. We haven't done one of those in a while.
No, we haven't. But we could do this thing, Succession, that's relevant right now, and just get caught up with that, so we could review the last couple together.
All right, maybe we'll do up through season 3.
Up through season 3. That's what, Holden.
We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out.
You're gonna get your stuff together and you're gonna watch it. That's your assignment.
We'll figure it out. We'll watch some. I'll try to watch some. We'll figure out something.
There needs to be an episode next week because then Fast 10 will be our 200th episode, right? Because that's 2 weeks.
That's right, yeah.
So,
that's right. I want that to be the 200th and not Little Mermaid.
Otherwise, it'll be a listener request. So,
yeah. We'll figure it out.
Yeah. I guess the listeners have nothing to look forward to now, Holden, because you deprived them of that.
I'm sorry. I'll see how much I can watch in the next few days, but I'm not, if I don't get a ton watched, then I'm not convinced I'll be able to catch up in time.
Season 4 is really good.
That's what I've heard.
But yeah, we may have that, we may not. We will definitely have it reviewed by the end of the season.
Yeah.
Even though Holden's a bag of sand over here. So if you are watching Succession, know that is coming. It is coming. The only reason it has not come yet is one of the two of us. So I'll let you figure that one out for yourself. But Holden does the heavy lifting on the pod normally, so
yeah, true.
Give him a break. All right. Otherwise, Holden, take us home.
Yeah. If you have a request, a movie you want us to watch, you can do so by leaving us a 5-star review on iTunes or by emailing us at tompodcast@gmail.com or donate to our Patreon. And that's it, Jimmy.
Alrighty then, Holden. Until next time, adios, pantalones.
Love you.
That One Movie Podcast.